Greetings, fellow vampires. Rhadamant here. Thank you for tuning in to the very first episode of Crimson Empress. Before we start, if you'd like to skip the overview, please use the YouTube chapters. If you want more information about the scenario, that can be found in links in the description, including the lore, rules, goals, ideology, and mod list. Episode 1, Forbidden Love. Before I start, I want to explain the scenario a little bit. There are commands in chat, and of course on YouTube there would be descriptions in the video. But the long and short of it is this. Sofie and Glitter are our two main characters. They're both vampires of different bloodlines. They were banished by ancient vampire council for a forbidden relationship trying to combine those two separate bloodlines, and they were entombed. Oh, of course, that is a bad carriage return, in a mountain to be long forgotten. They've been freed by local lorekeepers centuries later because the great houses of the vampires have been fully destroyed and the globe nearly fully subjugated by Lightbringers of the Kingdom of Light. Sofie and Glitter must establish a great coven and fight against the Lightbringers. The rules: nobody can surpass Wisper's generation level. I'll explain the mechanics behind that shortly. Only followers of our ideology may become vampires and must be converted via violent conversion. So it's no guarantee that the people we want to become vampires will actually become vampires. Some of them may die. Weapons, armor, clothing, and equipment that isn't researched and are forbidden to are forbidden to use, but we may sell them. Artifacts and utility items not bound to research may not be used either. And then goals: spread vampirism to the worthy and slay, enslave, imprison the unworthy. Construct a powerful citadel to protect vampires from persecution. Destroy settlements of the Kingdom of Light. Become stronger and more powerful vampires. And then the settings: vampirism won't be present in other factions. So we're not going to interact with many other vampires outside of some special events. Because the idea behind the series is that the world used to be ruled by vampires and the Kingdom of Light purged almost all of them. So there's just Wisper, Glitter, and a few others left. There is no mechanoid or insect faction. This isn't about mechanoids or insects, so they don't exist. And Cassandra Classic, losing his fun, is the storyteller. So in a second, you will see the globe here. There we are. So this is the planet as we know it. The factions are as follow. The Relics of Cain. They're a civil kingdom faction that only exists in micro pockets in the world, mostly on islands, because the rest of them got killed off. And then, of course, the Kingdom of Light, and they are everywhere. I mean, they took over the planet. And then us, nested all the way down here in this map tile. And this is where we start. So as I play through the vampire mod and some of the other mods that introduce game mechanics, I will explain them the best that I can. But Wisper and Glitter are both vampires of different clans, and that will be made obvious in a second. So here is Wisper, Sofie Wisper. She is the Crimson Empress of the Crimson Coven. This is what we're trying to found. She is a fast learner, brawler, jogger, and gay. And then here is her passions. And then this is her vampiric skill tree. So blood magic, domination, fortitude, and potence. And then we have Glitter. She also is a vampire, of course. She is a mystic. She is our moral guide. Trigger happy, iron will, bloodlust, and gay. And here's her skills. And she has a different skill tree: presence, auspex, obfuscation, and fortitude. So one is a Ventru vampire, and the other is a Tremere vampire. And they were banished here for being in a relationship of two different houses. And that's why they were kicked out. And we were entombed in a mountain to be long forgotten, but local lorekeepers busted us out. And here they are. These are some of the Relics of Cain who have come to seek out any vampires that are left in the globe to try to get the vampires to overthrow the Kingdom of Light. So as far as our ideology goes, darkness, violent conversion, god, emperor. The sire of all vampires is going to be regarded as a god. Research is not allowed. Vampirism is honorable, slavery honorable, combat in darkness, leader is godlike, dark light preferred. And the full details can be found under !ideology. For dark elders, they respect their elders. Now, one of the advantages of this is that vampires tend to be very old. So as they are respecting their elders, they're always, or almost always, going to have a very good relationship with us because we are very, very old. And then you have the Lightbringers, which, you know, male supremacy, loyalist, collectivist, and light. So the very opposite of what we are. The first thing I want to do here is talk about blood, because blood is going to be very important. Blood comes as vitae. When you use abilities, you spend your vitae, and you need to regain it, at least somehow. So vitae can be regained by lethally or non-lethally drinking from humanoids, not feeding at all, drinking non-lethally from animals, drinking lethally from animals. And what I'm going to be doing is manually controlling these guys, because it is going to be important that I make sure that they get vitae. Now, what ends up happening if they run out is something happens called the beast. The beast is when they are essentially starved so badly that they go insane and they just drink blood from everywhere, disregarding everything else. So they could run into the sun and die or something like that. So what I'm going to be doing is, let's try to find some animals here. We have got a bunch of wild boar around here. That's perfect. Time to drink the boar dry. I'm also going to be giving them their first skills. So Sofie Wisper here is going to get Blood Strike. And then Glitter will get Presence. Glitter here is our moral guide, and Presence gives you a social bonus. So it also slows down enemy attacks by 5% because they become charmed. And let's line up some boar eating. And you are warned over here about a starving vampire, so that's something I'm going to remedy. Now that we're eating these boar, I do want to haul their bodies off so that we can butcher them later on. So this is fresh animal corpses that are not insects. Not that insects matter because they don't exist. When you try to drink blood, you have to pass a grapple roll. So it's not a guarantee. So if I, for instance, try to feed on an enemy, if my melee exceeds their melee or ability to evade, I get to grapple them. But if it doesn't, then we fight. And generally speaking, for like human pawns, it's going to be a fight. So here's what Blood Strike looks like. You fire out... Is there a better target for Blood Strike? Okay, sorry, little fox, but you fire out a bolt of blood. The ability costs blood points, but then when it hits and returns, it brings you back 2. So it is a net of 1. Taking a look at Glitter's needs and Wisper's needs, their vitae is a little bit higher, but more could be done. So let's take a look at wildlife. There is another pack of wild boar just up this way. Thank you for all the crazy activity feed, by the way. I just wanted to try to explain the game as best as I can. I will look at that feed in just a minute. So here, these donkeys have a little bit more blood than the boars, so I can drink from the donkeys and not kill them, which is a really good way to sort of ration blood. You can also extract blood through medical means. You can, if you have like a prisoner, for instance, you can extract a pack of blood out of them as sort of like a meal to go. So now that I've drank these donkeys once, if I do it again, it would become lethal. But I'd rather just let them recover and be a meal for tomorrow or something like that. So taking a look at Glitter, we have got Vitae. Yep. Only maybe 2 more drinks and we're full. Or full enough. And I'm going to start hauling these boar back. So then the next thing I want to do is to get a butcher table. Now that we are not going to starve. The lorekeepers that busted us out are leaving. There's really not much for me to buy off of them anyway. So, adios. Adios, lorekeepers. All right, let's do work priorities. So firefight and basic. No point in doing research at all. And then for the moment, I'm probably going to want these to cut some trees down so that I can get a butcher table. What did I do with the mods? So I did a lot of modification about the vampire mods, building up my own bloodline, and then changing a lot of the moods and thoughts. I changed a lot of the other mechanics, but the problem is I just didn't have the time to package it all up into one nice, like, here's the mod pack. So I didn't publish it online for all of you to use it. Also, these 2 characters were named after 2 patrons. So Wisper's character here was named after the person that proposed the scenario. Because when you propose a scenario and it wins, you get to be the title character. That's how it works. And then Glitter was actually named after Glitch. Glitch named his character Glitter this time around. All right, so there is a stonecutter table that we're not going to be able to make until we get a little bit more steel, but here is a butcher table. And then Wisper here is going to be set to higher priority tree cutting. There is a little bit of steel down here. What else? There's some steel here. Okay. Yeah, and we're in a bit of a cove here, which I'm obviously going to use to my advantage. Going for a walk? No, I think not. Okay. Getting that butcher table going. And done. And then Glitter, you're going to be set to butcher creatures that are close by. And your cook priority is going to be raised. Now, in the game, with the mod pack, vampires don't need to sleep, but they do sleep during the day unless you tell them not to. So what I plan on doing is trying to engineer a coven where they don't sleep, where they essentially don't have to sleep. They stay awake all day and all night, as productive as they can be. I'm also going to make some dark light candles. You can make candles out of meat, and then they produce dark light, dim, but dark light for a bit, which is very useful. And the sun is coming up any second now. Okay, so now we have a stonecutter, and I'm just going to do forever. I'm also going to tell Glitter to stone cut over plant and grow. Another thing I'm going to be doing is setting up roof zones kind of everywhere. Because sun's the enemy, so block out the sun, why not? It's also safer to work those jobs when you are building a roof over you. So in a second here, you will see the effects of the sun on us. So if I go to bio here, in clicking this button switches between their skills, traits, and backgrounds. This little button is the sun policy. So there is no AI, which means vampires go wherever they want, regardless of sunlight. There is the relaxed, which is they can pass through a little bit of sunlight, but they're careful. And then there's the never go into the sun ever. And I'm going to actually turn their AI off and micromanage it myself. So what ends up happening is when you're in the sun, you start to get sun exposure. And as the sun exposure reaches a serious level, it will drive a vampire insane. And then generally what happens is they collapse in the ground and fry up. And if they're not rescued very quickly, they die. Sun is very dangerous to a vampire. There's no clothing that mitigates it. If I get a sunblocker quest, that would be pretty incredible, but I can't rely upon that. So what we need to do is we just need to be very careful about where these guys go. So a roofing task like this one is pretty safe because we build a roof as we work, and then we cut trees down as we work, so it's not going to cause us to get scorched. The sun is a deadly laser, yes. All right, what other mechanics is there to cover? So doing any sort of work here for these vampires will raise their level. And there's two ways to measure level, so I should explain that. There is generation level. So Wisper here is a 10th generation vampire, and Glitter is a 12th generation vampire. The lower the number of your generation, the more powerful you are. So if you take a look at the neonate of Glitter, it gives vigor and senses plus 15%, and then she soaks up damage by 2 and gets 3 extra scratch damage. If we check Wisper, she has 4 scratch damage, more senses, more vigor, less pain, more soak damage. So that is sort of how many vampires old you are. There is the first vampire, and then the first vampire's children would be, you know, 2nd generation, 3rd generation, so on and so forth. There is a way to raise your generation, which leads back to the rule here, which is nobody may surpass Wisper's generation level. In this mod pack, you are allowed to consume the soul of another vampire, killing it, and raising your generation level. But it is a pretty challenging thing to do, and the world is basically empty of vampires. It's all essentially paladins, so it's not something that we're going to be doing very often. And then the other measure of skill would be just level. So as you level up, you gain a skill point, and you can spend the skill points in these disciplines. And that levels up with just jobs and work and fighting and whatnot. So right now, they normally would be sleeping, but not really sleeping. They would be laying in a coffin waiting for nightfall. But instead, I've put them on a pure work schedule so that I can just get more stuff done. So I've Glitter here cutting granite blocks, and then Wisper roofing up the perimeter. And what I'd like to do is turn this cove into a bit of a castle. You know, the Crimson Citadel that is supposed to be. So here was an example of Wisper standing in the sun, cutting down trees, which is a little bit more dangerous. So sometimes you have to micromanage them to make sure that they're not, you know, out in the open. We also have a light map. So light map just shows you the light level everywhere. And that's a really good indicator of like where it is safe and where it is not. And now that night is falling, you can see the light map light level is lowering. And at about 6 p.m. we can go back outside. I think at this point it would be a good time to maybe have our first building. So I'm going to set up just a granite square to increase our work speed. And I will micromanage Wisper to do that. And Glitter, what I want Glitter to do is to start hauling the animals that we killed off so that we can butcher them. Once I start taking prisoners of the enemies that show up, I'm going to need to feed them. Also, I can turn the meat into candles and things like that, so it is pretty helpful to me to still get the animal meat, even though it's not really what vampires eat. I'm also going to restrict Wisper to this little zone here so that we can, I don't have to micromanage so much. Although she wants to be recreating right now, but that's fine. Is this going to be in my shared files? Yes, it will be eventually, yeah. The starting file will be. The other thing I want to do is probably smoke the meat. So here's the research tree. We have the main research tree, which you should be pretty familiar with. The only thing that is not vanilla here would be heavy crossbow, introduced by the Vanilla Factions Expanded mod. I did edit this mod a little bit, but that aside. We also have some doors research. So we have jail doors, larger curtains, larger gates. And then in the Vanilla Expanded, we have medieval noble apparel, hill root, trees, meat smoking, and then all the art already researched. We're not allowed to research anything, but because we're vampires with the knowledge of all the medieval ages, we started with all the medieval research unlocked. But we can't research anything. There's no way to unlock any additional research. Also, to that end, the outfits are already modified here. So this anything outfit, I'm just going to call vampires. This anything outfit does not include any tech armor. So we will not automatically wear things like grenadier armor, flak, etc., etc. It's not allowed in the series, and it is forbidden in the outfit, unless I override it, which I won't. Then there is also vampire food, which is essentially nothing. I'm going to say no food. Vampires don't eat. They feed on blood. Now, there is an exception here, which is blood packs. But I want to use blood packs manually. I don't want them to use it automatically because they make for very good combat food or caravanning food. You can think of them as like a bit of a recharge. All right, Glitter, let's get you to grab some more boar. And pretty soon here, I suspect that we're going to get some of our first combat. Our Vitae does drain on its own per day. So that's another thing to keep an eye on. We don't have infinite blood. We have to feed regularly. So that's going to be an issue if we burn through all of the animals on this map tile, which is why I only sift those donkeys. And then I'm just letting them get their blood back. It's one per day unless you use abilities, yeah. Abilities obviously change the equation a bit. All right, let's go ahead and get some recreation. I think Wisper here would have a lot better of a time if I had some recreation to do. How do you caravan during daytime? So during daytime, the vampires in our caravan will rest as if it's nighttime. And they are not harmed in that way. And then if you do have humans in the caravan, they'll move, but they won't move to the point where they get themselves hurt, thankfully. All right, Wisper, I'm going to unrestrict you so that you can go back to roofing up everything around. Now, the polling software that I normally use is down right now, because of course, you know, just my luck. But what I will be trying to do is poll you. So when people are captured by Wisper and Glitter, there's going to be multiple options. I can turn them into vampires, turn them into ghouls, just enslave them, and use them for labor and blood. And I'm going to have you all make that determination. Let's set up a raw resources stockpile. And then a not raw resources stockpile. That way we can start hauling things in. So I need one more granite chunk in order to make the chest table. Or I could just make it out of slate. I guess I'll just do that. The next thing I probably want to do is smoke this meat before it spoils, because it's going to spoil pretty quick. So in production, we have meat smokers. I'll set up a whole bunch of meat smokers here. Because if we are going to be taking on human prisoners, we need some human food. And I certainly don't want to do any farming. One of the issues with farming with vampires is it's super dangerous because farms inherently are lit by sunlight. So you can't exactly just like waltz into the sun and go, oh yeah, time to harvest plants. That's definitely slave work. That's definitely not vampire slave work. Or you get yourself nice and toasty. Are Sunlance deadly to vampires? Yeah, really any light level like that would be. So it's best to stay out of the sun. Hey, a wine merchant coming in. Nice. Alright, so these meat smokers take about 3 days, and they process the meat so that we can keep it from spoiling for a bit. I'm going to go ahead and get a dark light brazier here instead of the candles. As you can see, that perfectly illuminates the entire room. How long can a vampire last before they need a blood pack? It depends on the generation level. There isn't a preset time. It depends on how much vitae they have and what generation level they have. So like a generation level 2 vampire with full vitae can last for months without feeding. Whereas a thin-blooded vampire, the smallest generation level, can't last really at all. Hey, Wisper leveled up. I'm going to give her Mesmerize, which is a stun. We won't have visiting vampires, Pretzel Bomber. There aren't any. They died. The Lightbringers killed them all off. I think we grabbed all the boar, so all that's left is this fox. I don't think there's anything that we could... Yeah, they're just selling grapes and wine. They don't want to buy anything. Got it. So let me try to pull you all about the next task. What to build next? Here we go. There it is. What to build next? A perimeter wall, prisons, recreation, dining, storage, or viewer suggestions. Oh, you can hear Glitter smoking. She's okay. All right, let's see. Wrong place, wrong time, little squirrel. Someday we'll be off of animal blood. Hey, buddy. That's yours. You earned it. Oh, Glitter started to get very smoking on that last run there. So, Glitter, what I'm going to have you do is I'm going to have you join in roofing up the area because you're starting to burn yourself out trying to get to the chunks. Looks like a perimeter wall and prisons are the two most popular options, but you have a little bit of time left to vote. Oh, and they gave me gifts. So medicine, like Glitter World medicine, is allowable, but it's things like orbital bombardment targeters and, you know, shock lances. Those kind of things are not. Looks pretty good. We're getting this nice and roofed up. The poll system changed because the way I normally poll broke. It's offline right now. I can't use it. All right, I'm going to be changing their work here. During nighttime, I might as well go out and about because there isn't the threat of burning up. And let's look at that feed. I'm already up to like 8 hours, aren't I? Oh man, there is so many. I'm just going to umbrella thank you all. It is, I've missed this. Last month, I wasn't running a miniseries marathon because I became a father instead. And it's fun to be back at it. It's a lot of fun to be back at it. Kind of feel bad for the wife today. She's on baby duty for, quite literally duty, baby duty for the day with no backup. So after the stream, I'm probably going to do baby duty for a few hours. So I'm in for the gauntlet. In for the gauntlet. Yeah, my community's been referring to my kid as Rattling, which I find amazing. The little Rattling. And he's doing pretty good. Hasn't quite gotten down the whole, like, fall asleep yet. So, nights have been real rough, but, you know, we're handling it. Alright, where's my combat? Come on, come fight me. Cassandra Classic. Do I need to change you over to a Randy? Because you're a bit too pacifistic right now. So this meat here is going to spoil pretty quick. So I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to crank out a whole bunch of dark light candles because this meat is going to spoil before the meat smokers are emptied. And I'll certainly use those candles later on. So these dark light candles are actually ones that I modified into the mod. They don't exist in the medieval mod by default. So when you're playing for yourself, I think what I can try to do is to pack up all the things that I did mod-wise and put them into the public. But, yeah, these dark light candles, you won't have access to, unfortunately, until I get that mod online. Okay, we're starting to get to we're going to burn walking around. I think at about 6 in the morning is when the sun goes up. Oh, Glitter, wrong side. There's a lot of babysitting to making sure that vampires don't off themselves with fire. Oops. And a perimeter wall is what we're going to work on next. So what I want to do is, I want to plan it out. I'm not so concerned with what I would consider is like a min-maxed defense, because we're vampires. They're very, very powerful, very strong, and I'd rather have it be really aesthetically pleasing. Also, we have the medieval overhaul mod, the vanilla expanded medieval pack, which means we can dig moats. So moats can't become fully impassable, but you can dig a moat down to where it's shallow water, and you move very slowly. So let's try to figure out a wall here. So if I start a wall, let's say around here, this it's not going to be as flat as this. The center point would be about here. So then what I might do is I might have a little bit of a gatehouse here. A lot of this won't be like RimWorld mechanics of like min-max defenses. It's going to be just aesthetically pleasing sort of defenses. I'm not so much concerned with making it usable. I want to make it aesthetic, because our vampires don't need super usable. So this here was a 5x5. Ooh, collapsing. Oh yeah, that makes sense. And I'm just plopping in some minarets here. So this is 13 away. Making sure that it is even. Yep. Little gate towers. Alright, that'll work. Also looks like I'm just about done with the steel, so I might as well grab the last of it. It would also be probably wise for me to make some weaponry. I mean, we're vampires, so we can use our hands pretty effectively, but I'm going to make a great bow for Glitter, and then I'll set up a smithy for myself to make some sort of sword or something. Okay, Wisper leveled up again. I'm going to have her go towards the sleep skill. The sleep skill is a very powerful tool to be able to take prisoners. So we're going to want that for sure. And how's our blood doing? It's probably low a little bit. Yep. We could definitely do a little bit of a feast, I think. So, Glitter and Wisper, as it is 8 p.m., there is time. And I'm going to head up to these donkeys and feed on the donkeys, because I know the donkeys can survive at least a bite. I don't know if these ibex can survive multiple bites. Oh yeah, the ram can. Maybe not all of them can. Blood level depends on body size and some other factors, like have they been bleeding and etc., etc. All right, let's take a look at our needs. Full and 2 from full. Come on, let me bite it. Oh, that's lethal. Sorry, bunny. Such a sad little noise. Okay, so we're full. So you all voted on build a wall. Let's take a look at the terrain. So yes, the entire perimeter of this wall is terrainable perfect. So here's what we're going to do. I am going to set up a castle wall. And then in some of these spots here, I'm going to put in braziers. Because that is enabled here. And I'm not going to fill in the back here just yet. I'm going to wait until we have the full perimeter wall up. So we have that wall, and then I'm going to do a 3-size door over to a wall. And these walls are very, very tough, but also very, very expensive. So it is super labor intensive to get those built. Thank you for tuning in to Crimson Empress, which originally streamed live on Twitch July 23rd and July 24th. If you have any feedback or questions for me about this series, please let me know in the comments below. But keep in mind that this series has since ended. It's streamed one time only. If you'd like to catch a live stream of mine, Rhadamant.com has my stream schedule and countdown timers to upcoming streams that adjust for your time zone. If you'd like to join my gaming community, Rhadamant.com or the description of this video have a link to Discord. Thank you so very much for watching. A special thank you to my Patreon patrons and Twitch subscribers, as well as viewers like you that support the channel, and those that showed up to the live stream. I'll catch you in next episode or an upcoming stream. Farewell, my fellow vampires.